Charlie Kirk's assassination. Irina Zarutska slaughtered on a Charlotte train. Dr. Julie Schnell savagely murdered while walking her dog. Multiple school shootings perpetrated by leftist radicals. And countless others. Innocent people, leaders, and ordinary citizens. The question isn't, when will the war start? The question is, when will we accept that it already has? The only way we honor those who have fallen is that we accept reality, we face it clear-eyed, and we move forward with resolve. If not us, who? If not now, when? Welcome back to the Apex Podcast. I know it's been a minute. We've been living real life, right? We've been inundated just like everyone else. And it took a bit of a wake-up call. Sadly, for me, it's shameful, but it did take a bit of a wake-up call. I think what we're going to talk about tonight is super important. It's been on everybody's mind. Understand, I'm not here to capitalize on any of the tragedy that we've seen. That's not what it's about. It's about those of you who, like me, are concerned with where we're going, where our country's at for our kids. What do we do next? So I'm going to read some of these so that we can set the stage. I want to make sure I get it right. We've got a Christian leader who was assassinated on a college campus, and thousands of people cheering that assassination online. We've got a refugee who fled Russian bombs to come here to what's supposed to be God's country, thinking she was safe, and was savagely murdered on a train. School shooting in Nashville, perpetrated by a transgendered individual who was openly motivated by hatred for Christians. At Annunciation Catholic School, a shooting conducted by Robin Westman, whose diaries showed extreme anti-Christian rhetoric and had single lines posted like "Kill Trump." We've had countless incidents of riots and mobs, random acts of violence, like the Summer of Love, that have been politicized and excused because of those political motivations. And it's not just citizens who are propagating and perpetrating this violence, promoting this violence. You've got national political leaders who have thrown fuel on this fire for a long time. Some specific examples, and again, I'm going to read because I don't want anybody to accuse me of misquoting or misrepresenting the facts. Maxine Waters in 2018, calling for violence in public spaces. She says, quote, "If you see anyone from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and create a crowd and you push back on them. You tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere." Nancy Pelosi in 2020 on CNN, "I just don't know why there aren't uprisings all over this country." And then she said, hopefully, maybe there will be. Chuck Schumer, and perhaps the most blatant threat of violence, while speaking on the steps of the Supreme Court, he said, "I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released a whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions." We all know that there was an assassination attempt on Justice Kavanaugh. None of those politicians held accountable. No calls for resignations, no calls for what I would say is justice, as they politicized belief systems and, in my opinion, created violent actors. These aren't isolated incidents. These aren't one-offs. This has been the culture for a long time. We've gotten to a place where when you can't win a debate logically, it's okay to act in violence to stop the debate. We politicize those actions and excuse the behavior. Now, absolutely, the left has come out and said political violence on either side is not acceptable. But if you look in recent history, the only side that's perpetrating political violence is the left. So naturally, out of self-preservation, they would say no political violence is okay, right? And let me be clear, I am not advocating tonight for any political violence whatsoever. Please understand that. I want to say that. I'll say it emphatically over and over tonight. I am not advocating that we perpetrate any kind of violence. But what I will say is that the worst danger is not the violence that has happened itself. The worst danger is the denial. We've got leaders, we've got obviously mainstream media, our neighbors shrugging it off as if it's over, shrugging it off and denying that things have changed and pushing us to believe that we're back to normal rather than living in a new normal. The reason that's so dangerous is because denial is how wars escalate silently until wars become unavoidable. As I said in the intro, it's a hard fact to swallow. But what we have to do is not say, when is the war going to start? We have to be able to say with our logical, reasonable mind that a war's already begun. A war has already begun to be perpetrated on us. We're in it, whether we want to be or not. And so the question is, what do we do next? So what do we do now? We train, we learn, and we prepare. Every man listening to this, it is your job to protect your family. That means becoming physically fit. That means a new sense of awareness to the world around us because it has changed. That means learning medical skills, learning martial skills, learning firearm skills if that's what you choose to do, and developing the discipline to use those wisely and well. This is not in any way about becoming vigilantes. This is about becoming shepherds. Because like it or not, the wolves are out there. As a young boy, King David, slew a lion and a bear, and that was part of his preparation for his confrontation with Goliath. Our training is the way that we slay the lion that is comfort in our modern lives. That we kill the bear that is free dopamine uploads in their various forms, whether that's drugs and alcohol, whether that's pornography, whether that's just blindlessly scrolling on our cell phones to numb ourselves to the reality that's going on outside our door, which takes us out of the fight. I believe there is a very real adversary, and I believe his ultimate game plan is to take men like you and me out of the fight so that he can devour not only us, but our families. My wife asked me recently, why do this? Why do Apex? Why do this podcast specifically? But why do this in general? The subcontext to that conversation was, why do I feel like you're angry? The reason I feel like I'm angry is because I feel like I'm not doing what I'm called to do. I was raised, as you guys know, relatively poor, but I started training MMA before MMA was really a term. If you want to look it up, look up the shoot fights, right? I was training at 9 years old thinking that I was going to fight in the shoot fights in Amarillo, looking up to guys like Evan Tanner, thinking that's where I was headed. And so I was a young kid and I was training all the time and angry at being poor, angry at some situations in life where I got in a ton of fights, fought competitively a lot, fought in the street a lot, had stupid interactions that no one should ever have. But one thing I was good at was I was good at fighting. I don't know if that's something you want to be or not. But then I found I was good at training others. And so when my wife asked me, she said, you just seem like you're tense. You seem angsty. You seem angry. And as we talked, she kind of pulled it out of me. And really what it is I'm angry at myself because I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm called to do. I feel like what I'm called to do right now in this moment is I'm called to help men be able to speak openly their beliefs and feel safe, and that they can keep their families safe while they do it. We live in a generation where our ideologies, really that our country was built upon, every signer of the Constitution but one was a professed Christian. Our society's built on the Christian values that we've tried to instill in our families, but they've become not out of fashion anymore. Now, if you believe in those Christian values, you're deemed full of hate. You're deemed a fascist. You're deemed all of these incendiary words that I believe it's driven fear into the hearts of men, that we cannot speak what we believe with compassion, with love, but with honesty. If we openly and honestly say what we just believe, our businesses may struggle, right? The whole cancel culture thing, that was the good old days. The cancel culture was the good old days. Now, if you openly profess your faith, if you openly speak what you believe, there is genuine fear that you may receive violence when people can no longer contest your logic. And so my wife, as she was digging down, we were having a conversation. I said, I feel like it's my calling to help men not only feel safe, feel like they're prepared for whatever may come if they speak their values with compassion and love, but in honesty, but that their families have the freedom to do so as well. And those men can shepherd their families and protect them should the worst happen, should evil knock on the door. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it nearly enough. So that's why Apex and those things, why Apex MMA, why Apex, the security trainings and things that I do, the podcast, but it's not enough. And so I live with this undercurrent of anger that I need to be doing more. So this podcast kind of starts that, hits the refresh button on that. Every man listening to this, understand, it's not optional. Your job is to take care of your family. Your job is to protect your family. You don't protect your family by being silent. You protect your family by speaking truth in love and being capable of handling whoever or whatever may come against you for doing so. One thing we know is that when we speak truth, the adversary will give us conflict. In some way, we will face challenges when we speak truth. 1,000,000%. You can't deny it. Throughout history, throughout every story in the Bible, when someone becomes vocal, and I'm not saying that we should be out screaming like crazy. If this is you, I apologize, but I'm not a big fan of the whole, street corner preachers who are yelling and hollering and telling everybody they're going to hell. Our witness should be from love and acceptance that comes from a force that's dangerous, right? We should work to hone ourselves into men who people understand that we are formidable. And when we smile, we mean it. And when we open our arms and our homes and our ideas to people, it's a welcome feeling. They feel like we truly, because we do, truly accept them and engage with them. My son reminded me that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. We have to come from a place of strength, understanding that when we do, that means the enemy will bring his strength against us. We got to be okay with that. My faith makes me okay with that ultimately. But I understand it's my responsibility to prepare and be ready for whatever that looks like. In that same conversation with my wife, she mentioned, I understand that there could be a worst case scenario where the country's divided and we are living at our homestead and we have to defend our homestead, right? Just for a second, and I don't mean to sound too crazy conspiracy theorist, but what if that's a best case scenario? What if the idea that we have that time and we set up our little homestead and we have our tribe and we all, in our tribe, we know we're going to look out for each other, but we've got our, year's supply of food saved up. and we are able to confront the wolves as they come to the door. What if that's a best case scenario, not a worst case scenario? So what I mean, men, is that we've got to prepare ourselves for anything. Because not only is it our responsibility to protect our family, we know that that's an easy one, right? Isn't that an easy thing? Hey, what's your primary job? My primary job is to take care of my family, right? It is. Equally as important, we're all called to speak the truth. In whatever opportunity is given to us, we have to speak truth. I'm humbled to call him a good friend. One of my good friends, Clay Martin, says it so well, and he and I align in so many things. There's a few things we don't agree on, sure, or maybe we grew up different, have different belief systems or whatever. But man, every time I have a conversation with him, it's almost like I'm having a conversation with myself. One of the things he does so well is he just tells you the truth exactly like he sees it. If you haven't watched it, I would encourage you to go watch Clay Martin on Jocko Willink. You want to talk about 3 hours of amazing wisdom and truth just coming at you from all areas, I would say do it. Be ready for, in the military, we spoke differently. Now, my military experience is absolutely nothing compared to his, but the vocabulary was pretty much the same. And so be prepared for some barracks talk between him and Jocko. But good grief, there's so much truth and wisdom in that. Pay particular attention to what he has to say about the cell phone, please. It has rocked my brain and has really given me food for thought. But guys, we've got to do it. We've got to set the example for our families that it's okay. And I understand my son is my producer of this podcast. His little brother, he and I are, my oldest son and I are kind of his little brother's heroes. And I know that, and I say this with all the gravity, my son's about to go to college. My youngest is about to go to high school. And I know as I set this example that they speak truth, I also know that I'm encouraging them to embrace a more danger than the average Joe. Right? Like I know that I'm encouraging them to speak the truth, and they may face violent resistance to that. Obviously, as a father, there's nothing scarier. There's a part of me, there's a coward in me that wants to encourage my boys to be quiet. There's a coward in me that wants to encourage my boys to have their head on a swivel, take what I've learned, what I've taught them, keep it quiet, and just protect themselves, and then protect their little family that they bring to the tribe, and go on about our business as peacefully as we can. It's a coward's mentality. But it's attractive as a father, right? But who I am and who my God says that I am, I have to encourage my boys to, with love and with compassion, speak truth. I went a long time not doing that. I went a long time shouldering what I saw around me. Most of you know I was a principal for a long time. I spent most of my career in pretty low-income districts. I saw a lot of, you want to talk about heinous things. And I was real quiet about those. I internalized it all. I tried to fight it in the moment, but I never talked to my wife about it. I tried not to talk to my boys about it. I didn't talk to my I keep using the word tribe, but it's what it is. There are a few men in this world who I call brother, and I don't use that word lightly. I have a biological brother. He's not my brother. There are a few men in this world who are my brothers. I didn't talk to them about the stuff I was seeing or confronting. And it took me to this terribly dark crazy place, right? And that wasn't even me speaking truth into those situations. That was just me not acknowledging what was going on in those situations to anyone but myself. I didn't plan to talk on this tonight, but it's where we're going a little bit, so it's okay. Let's get there. All around us, people's lives are on fire in a bad way. We're blessed. We live in this beautiful community of Salado, right? From Southgate Mobile Home Park, where I grew up, to Salado, everywhere I've been, people's lives are burning down around them. And what is so sad is that we don't say anything because we want to just keep things peaceful and maintain the status quo. And we're called to do more than that. We're called to do more than that. So many of you, like me, have prayed some version of this prayer. It's an old quote, combined with the scripture, but I've prayed it since my oldest was conceived, I think. I don't know that I prayed it before that, but I know that when we found out we were having CJ, I started praying because I saw the world sort of shaky, right? CJ was born in 2007. Obviously 9/11 had happened. I'd been out of the Army for a long time, but I'd kind of been awake to what was going on. And so I started praying this prayer. Lord, let there be peace. But if there must be war, let it be in my time, so that my children may know peace. Here I am. Send me. I bet a lot of you have prayed something like that. Whatever your religious beliefs are, maybe you're not a Christian, okay, but you have a similar belief system to me. Great. I bet a lot of you have had those thoughts. Man, I hope we can find our footing and move towards peaceful discourse. But if we can't, if it's going to fall apart, let it fall apart now. Let it fall apart while I'm here, so that my kids can enjoy the peace that comes after. I don't know how much peace will come after, right? But I still pray that. I had a conversation with one of my brothers after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and I said, I think that it looks like that prayer we've prayed about our kids and us being the ones to embrace the suck so that our kids can have better might come true, right? What we have to do, guys, is we have to speak to our families. We cannot carry the weight of this current situation alone. When I went through the lowest time in my life, that's what I was doing. I was carrying the negative parts that I saw and I knew were my responsibility to address. I was carrying those by myself. I almost lost my marriage because of it. I almost lost my family because of it, because I went to such a dark place because I thought, hey, there's all of this nefarious, evil going on. Call it what you want. Somebody's got to do something about it. I see it. I know I have a responsibility to do it, but I was carrying all of that on my own. I couldn't think of a productive way to have that conversation with my wife. My wife, some of you know her. I'm like right now, like 8 of you follow this podcast or whatever. All of you know her, right? But some of you know her. She is built, created to instill peace. People talk to my wife when they want to feel peaceful. People talk to my wife when they want to be reminded of the good in themselves. She's wonderful at that. You see her. Maybe. She's on there somewhere. She's right here. She's also the strongest person that I know. And so what I learned through almost wrecking my whole life by trying to carry all of this by myself is that she was there for it. And when I opened up and I had conversations with her about what I was seeing, did it scare her a little bit? Sure. But when I took the time and I tried to show her where I was coming from, she was like, yeah, James, I know. I agree. I'm in. We had a conversation recently where I said I have to do more with Apex. There's been a group of men in our local community who have vocalized to me. They were like, "Hey, man, my fitness game's not where it should be. My self-defense game's not where it should be. Will you help me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then I've done nothing. I've left those men hanging. And I apologize for that, and that's going to stop. But we've got to be willing to talk to our wives, and we've got to also be willing to teach our children that freedom is fragile, that safety is not guaranteed, but also that courage can be contagious. In a free society, it comes with a degree of danger. Liberty comes with a degree of danger, right? I'm going to get it wrong. I want to say it was Thomas Jefferson, but I think I'm wrong. Said, "The man who will sacrifice liberty for security deserves neither." So we got to be able to teach our kids that what they enjoy as freedom is very fragile and is incredibly rare, not only in the world today, but throughout human history. The idea of liberated and free societies is the one-off. That's the unique idea. The status quo is not freedom. It has never been, right? The United States, the experiment that was and is America, though it is vastly under attack, it is a unique. The left is going crazy right now because what's his head got fired? Jimmy Kimmel, right? He got fired. And they're like, that's an attack on the First Amendment. It's really not, right? You can say whatever you want to say, but it can also have consequences, right? ABC can fire you if you don't represent the values they want to put forth, right? It's not an assault on the First Amendment. The things we say when we speak truth, guys, they can have consequences, real consequences, right? We got to be okay and embrace that. If we're speaking the truth, we're doing God's work. So my kid, who's a producer, just looked it up. It was Ben Franklin. I knew I was wrong. I knew it wasn't Thomas Jefferson. So that's what we do. But what we can't do, we can't allow our families to fall back into a false sense of comfort that all of these incidents that have happened are just one-offs, right? Again, I hate to sound like that conspiracy guy, but if you listen to the mainstream media, they try to convince us that it's over and we're back to normal, whatever that is, right? That's a lie. That's false. But it's human nature to go back to believing that because that's comfortable. We want to believe that, okay, we've had an act of violence and it's going to stop, right? We haven't had an act of violence. We've had 3 in the last 3 weeks. But if you look at, pick a year, it's steadily escalated. Those of you who are militarily minded, those of you who are martially minded, you already know this. There's been a steady escalation of ideological violence. Absolutely. There have been right-wing extremists who have perpetrated some of that, but it's dramatically those who believe Christianity is centered on hate. Those who reject the values our country was founded on, those have been the primary perpetrators of ideological violence. I don't call it political violence because it's not about politics. It's not about lower taxes, higher taxes. It's about values, right? In a break, my kid said, we fought a revolution over a 2% tax on tea. There's a little more to it than that, but he's basically right. But the conflict now is not about tax brackets. It's not about representation, right? It's about your core values. And there are people who will see this, and when they know and they learn my core values, they'll hate me for it, right? I am proudly, boldly a Christian. I do believe marriage is ordained by God. I do believe there's only 2 genders. Right? This is the easy one, right? Most of you who watch this know you're with me on that. I believe those things. Now, if you don't, I love you. I want to give you the benefit of the doubt from jump, but the violence has escalated more and more and more, and I tend to be more cautious when I meet new people, right? One of my good friends believes exactly opposite from me on everything. He believes exactly the opposite of me in all values. He is not only an atheist, he is anti-Christian. And he's one of my very good friends. We have lively but loving discourse. So if you disagree with me, okay. If you have different values than me, okay. What we can't do, guys, is we can't let those who disagree with us, we can't play their game and fall into hatred of them. We just have to be willing to speak the truth. It's not our truth, right? There's this whole movement of speak your truth. I believe in absolute truth. Now, yes, there are some things that are right for some people and wrong for others, right? I get that. I understand that, right? There is obviously we have to use our brains a little bit and understand that this isn't an absolute rule, but some things are absolutely all the time evil, right? Performing gender altering surgery on 11-year-olds is 100% of the time evil. It's wrong. There isn't a case where it's right. This is going to get some of you mad at me. Abortion, it's wrong. All the time. It's hard for me to say that one because I have people who are close to me and who I love who have been impacted closely by abortion. And I wish I could take the hurt of that away. They'll tell you today that it was the most traumatic thing they've ever gone through. I wish I could take that hurt away from them. But I can't not say it's wrong. I have to, right? That one right there is one that right? That when we speak truth, we can face challenges, right? Just know that I love you. We've got to teach our kids the true realities of this world. So often we try to wash out the bad stuff and shelter our kids, which I agree to that to an extent. But we've got to know where them and we got to know where they're at. And we've got to teach them the realities of this world, but we've got to teach them all of the realities of this world. The barbaric realities of this world, absolutely. We also have to show them and teach them the beautiful realities of this world. The beautiful realities of nature, yes, but also the beautiful realities of other people, of people who have a different point of view than us, but that we can build each other from those different points of view. Recently, I had a conversation with one of my good friends, a police officer. I was a part of a group conversation with him. He's a police officer, African-American guy, one of the most squared away individuals I know. If things go pear-shaped, he's definitely a guy I want in my foxhole. You put it really, really well. This conversation since Charlie Kirk's assassination has been all about unity, right? We've heard it so much. Oddly, we've heard it a lot from the left. Again, I think it's a self-preservation method. But we've heard we got to unify. We've got to unify. And I can get down with that to an extent. I'm down to be united with you if you disagree with me and you're okay, let's just have a conversation. But if you force things that are inherently evil down the throat of society, I don't want to be united with you. Right? If you are one of these who either say Christianity's full of hate because we're quote unquote anti-gay, I would say you need to talk to different Christians. And if you're willing to do that, let's go. Let's have a conversation. I'm easy to reach, and I'm 100% open to it. But if your goal is to put forward the platform of evil, there are dark, nefarious forces at work in this world. And if your goal is to support those, I don't want to unite with you. I don't want to be unified with you. That's the way my buddy put it. He said, I'm not interested in unifying with the evildoers. Now, I'm misguided in some ways. You're misguided in some ways. Some of you have some of these beliefs that I don't agree with. No problem. Let's talk in a real way, in a respectful way. And I'm all in. But if your purpose is to propagate evil, I'm out. Let's just stay away from each other. But I don't want to unify with you. So getting back on track, so many people have put forward, how do we honor Charlie Kirk's memory, right? Or Irina's memory or things like that. Again, I'm not trying to capitalize on tragedies. The way we honor them, the way we honor anyone any innocent who has fallen, is we have to see reality as it is, not as we would like it to be, not as we hope it is, but as it truly is. Not as the media spins it, not as we wish it to be, as it truly is. So what does that mean? What do we do, right? Like if you're sitting here like, great, he said a lot of cool platitudes. Tell me what to do, right? Or what am I doing? I'll tell you what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build a strong local community. I'm investing in my tribe. It can be a community of faith. It can be a community of training or of preparation or brotherhood. The reason I use tribe is because that word indicates action also. When things go pear-shaped, your tribe is there for you, is in it with you. So I would encourage everyone to invest in a local community. Don't ostracize or isolate yourself. Don't cast out those who don't share your values, but identify those around you who do and invest in those relationships. Talk often. Have your family spend time together. Train together. Have these conversations together. There's so much. One day we'll talk about technology, right? But it's taken away what used to be like, hey, let's build a campfire and just talk to each other as men. Talk to each other as families. Talk about the reality of the world and how we're going to face it. Build that community. Prepare your homes. Prepare your homes physically. Those of you who know me, if you've worked with me with any of our Apex stuff, you know I'm a big proponent of understanding how to clear your house, how to pie your own corners. That's what I talk about, right? Prepare your home physically. Prepare your home spiritually, right? You and your family identify what your values are. Chew on those. Put them on the table. If you're people who pray together. You don't have to be a Christian. I think it's the best option for your life, right? I don't think there is not. I know there is not a better decision that I ever made, right? Some of my brothers, in the context that I mentioned earlier, some of my brothers don't embrace Christianity, and they're my brothers. Prepare your home practically. You know, we haven't talked a whole lot about prep on this podcast. Men, if you don't have a year's supply of food saved up, please do that. Start tomorrow. Because let's say all the stuff I'm talking about never happens. And someday down the road, we have an economic collapse, right? Or whatever. We've seen it over and over and over and over and over and over again throughout human history where economies collapse and food becomes scarce. Now, I'm not going to go down the conspiracy theory trail, but we have a guy here in America who's trying to buy all farmland, control access to food, and he doesn't like you and me, I promise. So if you don't have a year's supply of food saved up, please do that. Right? And I understand that by saying that, you all now know that I have a year's supply of food in my house. Okay, right? I do. When we speak truth, we open the door to challenge, right? Take care of and responsibility for the weak people around us, not the morally weak cowards down the street. That's not what I mean. I mean the old and the infirm, those who can't care for themselves. Find a way to help them day to day, build relationship with them. Because if things go sideways, probably our responsibility to help care for them too. Build yourself into a man that can be relied on in times of crisis. Not a fake version of that. Goodness, not a fake version of that. Don't build a comic book character. Don't build a plastic superhero. Build yourself into a man who can truly be relied upon in times of crisis. I believe we're called to do it. Right? Whether you, like me, take your values from Christ. I'm accused a lot of being a Viking. My haircut, I think. My tattoos. Same thing. See, it was the exact same value system, right? The Norsemen were nothing if they couldn't be relied upon in times of crisis. Every belief system, not every belief system, because there's some pretty sideways ones that believe in causing victims, but most belief systems would call you to become someone who could be relied upon. Be a formidable force. And then be that force for truth. If it's not us, then who is it going to be? And if now is not the time, then when is a better time? It's a simple choice. We can be the men who will stand in the gap. There is a gap, obviously, and I think it's undeniable that gap is widening. And we can be the men who stand in the gap for our loved ones and those around us. Or we can take the coward's way, and we will be the men who fall into that gap and are swallowed by it. I think that's a danger we walk every day. It's a choice we have to make every day. I'm going to go back and touch on something that I mentioned earlier. Resist free dopamine at all costs. Whatever method you access it, free dopamine hurts you. But more than that, it takes you out of the fight. It removes you from the battlefield. I truly believe that guys who are addicted to dopamine, and again, like I mentioned, it could be scrolling on you. It could just be scrolling Instagram, right? But guys, you know that once the algorithm identifies that you're a man, the ads that pop up, the content that pops up, all of it is meant to take you out of the game. Right? It might be pornography or promiscuity or whatever, right? Obviously, that takes you completely out of the game. If you're ever face to face with me, we can have a spiritual conversation about what I really believe that does to you. Alcohol, right? Another thing Clay will talk about is how many of our military brothers struggle with the demon of alcohol, right? Struggle with, and I don't mean to hyper spiritualize it, struggle with addiction to alcohol because it numbs the pain of things you've seen or experienced or done. All of those things diminish your capacity to be the kind of man who can be relied upon in a crisis, to be the kind of man who's willing to teach your families what's what. They diminish your capacity to be a man who's capable of speaking the truth, understanding that resistance may rise to face us when we speak the truth, and we're prepared to face that resistance as well. So I encourage you, within your tribe even, build relationships where you can talk about your natural weaknesses, where you can talk about the free dopamine that you tend to lean towards, or just the distractions that you allow to numb your mind to living each day. Because not only do those distractions diminish our capacity to face evil and speak the truth and all those things, they diminish our capacity to enjoy the lovely, beautiful, amazing life that we have on a daily basis. Guys, the wolves are out there, 100%. That's what I'm talking about. The wolves are out there. But goodness, we have beautiful lives. Our families, our relationships, whatever it is that sets you on fire, whether it's nature, whether it's whatever it is that has been placed inside of you that lights you up, we have been given a beautiful existence. But those free dopamine outlets, those distractions, diminish your ability to enjoy the beautiful parts of life too. My youngest son has recently, 2025, really become passionate about his faith. Reads the Bible every day, asks such insightful questions. I've said it before about my oldest. I say it about my youngest now. One day I hope I grow to be half the man those guys are, especially in their faith. And my youngest came to the whole family last week, and he was like, "Oh, I think we should move." This guy's going into his freshman year, plays football. He loves it. And, and he's like, "I think we should move to the Northwest. I think we should move to the mountains." And he said it and he was kind of cracking jokes and stuff. But then he kind of had a family meeting, and he had built a Google Slides presentation of all the reasons we should move to the Pacific Northwest. And he really set it forward to the family. Like, guys, I think we should do this. And it hit me. I was like, okay, we really need to entertain this conversation. Right? I talk about all the time how much I hate the heat in Texas and stuff. And so I crack jokes about moving to Montana or whatever all the time. But he really put it out there for us. And I was like, wow, we can really have this conversation. And so we're kind of doing that. We're having that conversation, right? My wife will tell you she's resistant to change all the time, right? My oldest is about to head to college, right? He was just at Texas A&M touring it, and his little brother's going, "Hey, we should move to Wyoming," right? What is the likelihood that we'll move? I don't know, right? We're pretty rooted here. But my kid brought what was on his heart to the family, and I was like, we have to have this conversation. We got to talk about what's on his heart. So he brought this up, and I was like, we got to have this conversation. And what it really drove home was that we just got to talk about truth, where we're at, what we see, and be able to chew on it as a unit, as a family unit, which made a much bigger point. We got to talk about faith as a family unit. Now, some of my closest friends, members of my tribe, have experienced what we call church hurt, right? and I'm not getting into this to diminish any denominations or any of that stuff. That's not who I am. It's not what I talk about, right? What I will tell you is that any organization that's full of human beings is bound to be messed up. And when I talk to the guy I mentioned who we disagree on everything, he often asks me questions about my faith and why I would have it. And we have those conversations, and we always get back to, when I ask him why is he so resistant to it, it always lands on the actions of human beings, right? That he experienced in a church setting. Churches have let us down, golly, in so many ways. Used to be a history teacher. We can talk about the Medici popes if you want. We can talk about corruption throughout the Catholic Church. We can talk about corruption throughout the Protestant Church. We can talk about corruption throughout any denomination if you want to. And I'll still tell you that corruption really has nothing to do with Almighty God, All Father, the creator of heaven and earth. It has to do with people and the way we hurt each other and the way we react to them. So we have to be able to talk about those things at home too, right? Because when the institutions let us down, which they have so many times, when the institutions let us down, our kids have to have a sounding board. We have to be able to talk about that and not throw faith out with religion. It's about faith and relationship. It's not about religion. And I think those around us who are so resistant to faith are really resistant to religion. And so am I. Jeez. Trust me, I walk into a church and I get some pretty wall-eyed looks, right? Tatted up all over the place. Stupid haircut. Eyes are kind of, I'm a relatively aware guy. I get lots of looks like, maybe you're not the guy we want to come in the door. I don't care. That has nothing to do with the truth. That has nothing to do with the faith and the relationship with God, All Father, creator of heaven and earth. That has to do with interactions between me and that guy. All right? So we got to be able to have these conversations at home. And then we got to be able to speak that same truth to others that we come in contact with, so that maybe some can understand that where the institution has failed them, the relationship doesn't have to. So here's the hope. The hope that we have when we're willing to take all of these things, when men stand, when families communicate, when communities, tribes prepare, chaos shrinks and darkness retreats. I hate to say this, but I believe we've passed the tipping point. There's a great book you guys should read called Tipping Point. We've passed the tipping point of us ever getting back to peaceful political discourse in this country. There will be some, but there will always be, I believe, some who, when they cannot overcome your logic, will seek to silence your voice. That's what happened with Charlie Kirk, right? Turning Point was having such great success. It was no longer a guy going to a university and facing vitriol and massive adversity. It was coming to a crowd that was split, and people were willing to engage with him, disagree with him respectfully, and then they would listen to the logic and the love he put that logic forth with, and minds were changed at a huge, huge level. A lot of people talk about crediting Charlie with Donald Trump being reelected. It's tough to argue. He at least delivered Pennsylvania, right? Turning Point delivered Pennsylvania. We know Donald Trump won all of the swing states. I love the people who talk about how close the election was. It's silly. Donald Trump won all of the swing states, but Pennsylvania was pivotal, and Turning Point delivered it, right? The impact that his compassionate, loving, logical debate with people who completely disagreed with him is undeniable. What I love most about Charlie was, if you disagree with me, please move to the front of the line. The people who agreed with Charlie were asked to wait patiently for their turn and allow those who disagreed, whether it was on any issue, right? Feminism, transgendered rights, LGBTQ, taxation, fascist presidents or not, all this stuff. Please come first and put forth your argument, put forth your opinion, and let's have a conversation. If you're willing to have a conversation, we'll do it. Oftentimes people, when their argument was overcome, would retreat into insults and things like that. But tragically, what happened is people who their platform had been dismantled via logic sought to and ultimately did silence him with violence. I don't think those days will ever be behind us. Wishful thinking is antithetical of preparation. So it's our job to communicate well. It's our job to stand on the truth. It's our responsibility to prepare to face the consequences of doing that. Once again, if you're out of shape, start today. If you are ill-prepared, start today. If you could not punch your way out of a paper sack, start today. You have to prepare. We are not in any way ever seeking violence, but we understand we live in a violent world. If you've listened to this podcast, you've heard me say it before. Peace is the rarity throughout human history. Humans have been at war with each other far more than they've been at peace with each other. And we live in a time where we're told to and convinced that that's not the case, that we're taught that we don't live in a violent world, or that someday we've reached enlightenment now and we won't perpetrate these horrible things. Humans won't perpetrate these horrible actions. They will. Evil exists. Evil exists, and it always will until it doesn't. So our responsibility is to prepare to face it. So many times I've talked about preparing internally, preparing our families for a worst case scenario where we've got our walls and our safety and we can create as much security as is possible. Tonight, my message is we are responsible to do more than that. We're responsible to do all of that, but we're also responsible to, with compassion and with love and with respect, speak the truth and encourage others to embrace it. And what we've learned in recent weeks is that when we do that, we open ourselves up to be confronted. Unfortunately, that confrontation is now more often violent. So we've got to be prepared for that as well. So brothers, we've got to understand that the war against us has already started. And the only question is whether we'll fight it with denial. We'll take that coward's way, deny it, and say these are all one-offs and we'll be back to normal tomorrow and everything will be fine. Or will we fight it with discipline? Will we have the courage to understand the reality as it is and prepare for it? Because it's coming regardless. Your level of preparation has no impact on what is coming. All your level of preparation does is impact how you can be resilient in the face of what's coming. This is in no way a call to rage. It's the opposite. Please, again, hear me. I've tried to say it over and over again. My friend who disagrees with me on everything will say it absolutely is. But it's in no way a call to rage. It's a call to readiness. It's a call to readiness. It's a call to understanding the reality that we face, the good and the bad, and being prepared to embrace it. I'll say it again. If we don't do it, who will? Will we leave it to our children and hope that they have the fortitude that we don't show? Or will we model the courage that it will take to stand in the face of adversity? So if not us, who? And if not now, when? Sticking our head in the sand and ignoring what's going on around us may make our lives easier. I'm old, right? You're old. It may make our lives easier, but I guarantee you it will make your children's lives harder. So I encourage you, if you haven't, make it a prayer, make it a mantra, make it a whatever they call them, those vision boards or whatever. I'm at the point where I root for God, let there be peace. If the peace is gone and there must be war, let it be in my time so that my children can know peace. I actively try to prepare my boys to be in the foxhole with me, with the understanding that as every day passes, the likelihood of them enjoying peaceful lives lessens. But the value of that prayer is let it be in my time, our time, so that our children, my grandchildren maybe it is, can know peace. There's a path forward to being ready for that, guys. There is a path forward. This isn't a sales pitch, right? Whether you ever reach out to Apex or not, hey, you're welcome. I'd love you to come. If not, no problem. Find a community with which you can prepare. If you don't know where to start, hit me up. Send me a message. I'll give you a place to start, right? Wherever you are in the country, I'll give you what to look for in a BJJ gym or an MMA gym. Because there's some pretty toxic ones, but there's some really, really healthy ones. I'll give you a place to start there. Whether you can't walk down the block or you can run a marathon tomorrow, whatever it is, there's a place to start. And then we unfold the intrinsic things that we've got to add to our toolbox. We'll do that together. We'll do that as well. Be the shield for your family. Keep your eyes clear and up. And stand ready. We're not promised an easy life. In fact, we're promised a difficult one. So I say we get ready for it together. Love you.